people were not used to seeing hunting explained, and some people's opinion you cannot change. We have these very hard anti-hunters who are as stubborn as we are. 10, 15 years ago, the hunter's attitude was to hide whenever we were attacked. One was literally a crazy man sitting in his mother's basement in Texas.
So yeah, this is the next episode of Face podcast with the hunters, and we have a guest today. It's Jens Ulrik Høgh, a CEO and founder of Hunter's Voice. Hi, Jens.
Hi, and thank you for having me here.
So you're one of the most seen and loudest voices on social media that talks about hunting in a good way. So just tell me a bit about the background. Why do you do it? How did you start it?
Well, I have no family history of hunting, so I started because my parents bought a farm when I was a child, and I found an interest in hunting because of one of the old guys helping out on the farm was a hunter.
Okay.
So that's how I started. I started hunt. My first animal shot was a magpie. Um, I have to admit it was a couple of months before I had the hunting license. But that was my very early start.
I think it was in the previous century, and it's not true.
Yes, that's exactly right. And no, I've always been one who was interested in debating things. To the well, I think I have that from my father. He also likes to debate things. So we were always discussing things at the dinner table, and being very annoying to anybody around us because we were both very, very stubborn. And he actually loves it so much that he would always take the opposite position. So when I became a hunter, my father became an anti-hunter. It was his
Okay.
farm that I hunted. So he became an anti-hunter, and he made some very elaborate rules about where I could not hunt on his farm and where I could hunt and how and when, and he took the position that hunting was very, very bad. Actually, he went so far as to become a vegetarian to prove his point, because that was one of my very early points, that if you have anything against hunting, you cannot eat meat anymore. So he stopped eating meat.
Okay.
So we had some very interesting discussions going on for years and years. He actually did go into a business with me to start my own first hunting magazine. But he was still very much an anti-hunter. He still is. He's turning 80 this year. He's not discussing that much with me anymore, but he basically laid the foundation for this. So after a couple of years, I started writing for other hunting magazines, and maybe 10 years ago, maybe it's a little more, I started debating hunting on a, with non-hunters in Danish media. I wrote a
You
couple
come
of,
from Denmark, right?
yes, I come from Denmark. So I wrote a couple of op-eds, which were basically answers to attacks on hunting from mainly the bird watching organizations who are very much anti-hunting here in Denmark. And I started, doing what I had been doing around the dinner table with my father, just pulling out the arguments that holds. Because obviously one thing I learned is that the argument against hunting is very much emotional, and we have all the solid, strong arguments on our side. So I started to experiment a little bit with that in mainstream media here in Denmark, and it was extremely well received. The first op-ed I sent in, 10 or 12 years ago, when it was actually accepted by the biggest newspaper we have in Denmark. And back then, newspapers were a little bit bigger than they are now. and it was the most read op-ed of that newspaper that year. So that sort of gave me
Right.
people liked the subject, and people were not used to seeing hunting explained and that way around defended with solid arguments rather than a lot of shouting on both sides. So that sort of gave me the courage and the motivation to go on. And then a couple of years ago, I sat down and I learned to speak English well enough to write in English. And that's where I sort of expanded the whole thing to be able to speak on behalf of hunters worldwide. So it's been a long trip, but it's an ongoing trip, and I've long realized that it will never stop. There will always be there will always be work to do. There will always be things to explain and defend to the non-hunting public. It never stops. But I find it interesting. It's sort of my job, but it's also my passion. So it's a good combination. It keeps me going.
Isn't that a bit of a fight against windmills, considering that you haven't changed your father's opinion? How do you see it?
Well, you could be right in some way because I've also realized that some people's opinion you cannot change. We have these very hard anti-hunters who are as stubborn as we are. I mean, they're never ever going to admit that hunting can be good for something. But they are, as we are, maybe just less than a handful, less than 5% of the population, and then we have all those 90% in the middle, who in our democracies are the ones who basically makes the rules. They are the ones who let us hunt, so to speak. Um, and most of those people are reasonable people who listen to solid arguments. Um, we can see here in Scandinavia, not only Denmark but also Norway and Sweden, where we have had these opinion polls on hunting for a very long time. We can actually see that every time we have a new one, the ship is slowly turning. The attitude towards hunting here in Scandinavia was always rather positive, more positive than in say France or Germany or especially the UK, but it's turning more and more positive. And I believe that it's because we have been so busy trying to explain what it is that we do. We have chosen here in Scandinavia, and I'm far from the only one. There's many people explaining hunting here. We have really made an effort to reach a general public, and I think we have in many ways succeeded. We have a very, very popular TV show in Denmark going on for I think the 15th season now, which is about killing what you eat. Um, we have all these op-eds in our mainstream newspapers. 10, 15 years ago, the hunter's attitude was to hide whenever we were attacked. Now there's almost, a small competition of which hunter gets to defend hunting this time. Um, so
Okay.
so 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 it's a very active community, and we have done well. We have results to show you can turn public opinion. It takes a long time. So I think that's the most interesting and useful result, and I'm sure that the same is true for the rest of the world. But of course, some countries have a very different culture. So hunting was a little bit more popular to begin with here in Scandinavia, because we never had that system where you had to be super rich or own a castle to be a hunter. At least it's very long time ago. Whereas in the UK, for example, hunting is still associated with super wealthy people. So you have sort of a class fight going on in the background, with a lot of less fortunate people just being against hunting because it's perceived to be a sport of the super rich.
Or old, or just men, or any
Hmm.
other
Oh
stereotype.
yeah, yeah. We have a lot of prejudice here as well, but to fight. But my point is that the starting point of the debate is different from country to country.
Right.
Um, and
Yeah,
and
because it's like if you look around among different countries, how it's developing. In most cases where there is a kind of vacuum of
mm,
explaining, or if the national association hasn't been that active in the previous 10, 20 years, then we really see some anti-hunting development, and they are much
mhm.
more aggressive because they don't get uh, they don't have this arguments back. So I think
No,
that if my belief is that there always has to be a debate. You even have to answer to these really weird, kind of rude comments, because
mm,
if there is one opinion, there always should be another opinion. And then, as you said, the 95% of society will make up their mind on their own.
yes,
You and your father, you are like the two extremes
yeah,
of the situation. In between, there are so many people who just either they don't care, they don't know, or they want to know. And if there is no information,
exactly,
if there is no information coming from hunters, then the vacuum is filled with, oh, why are you so hungry? The meat comes from supermarket, for example, which is the most common argument here in Latvia. Like, are
mm,
you hungry? Are you famine? You can go to the shop and buy your meat there, which is
yes.
which is
I mean,
totally
there's
weird.
so many really, really weird arguments coming up. And actually, it's another lesson I learned is that I don't think I've saw a new argument against hunting for the last 10 years or something like that. I mean, I can literally make a list of their main arguments, and it's the same coming up all the time. Obviously, because they haven't found any solid arguments. It's all emotional, and it's fair enough to be emotionally against something, but then you also have to be honest about it. I mean, if you say I don't like that people kill animals because I like animals very much, and you think you're able to live a lifestyle without doing so, then be my guest. But the problem we have is that this is what they think. This is the reason. They know that their arguments won't hold up, so they attack us with a lot of pseudo arguments, making up their own science, for instance, because they know we are very strong on the scientific arguments, the evidence. So they simply, go as far as making their own institutes and what have you, and make scientifically looking reports that are not scientific at all, concluding all kinds of bullshit based on their emotions. Um, so I think that is one of the challenges we have, that they are literally out of solid arguments in most cases. Of course, not all hunting is great and good, and of course they can find examples of bad practice here as well. We are millions of hunters. There's some assholes in our
Yeah,
groups as
but it's
well,
like
of
the
course.
same. There are assholes among doctors, police,
Exactly, we are people.
lawyers, priests, everyone.
Exactly.
So my next question is, where do you get the courage from? Because in many cases, the aunties are rather rude. They threaten. I've received threats. The comments can be like really not annoying, but like real threats. I know that there have been influencers, hunting influencers, who actually committed suicide just because of
Yeah,
kind of
but,
attitude.
but
Where do you find the courage? Because there are many hunters, many very famous people who are hunters among pop stars, actors, singers, whatnot, and they are not talking about it because they are, in a way, afraid of it all.
I think I'm unafraid because honestly, I like if I was a rock star, I would have something else to lose. I mean, a rock star's main income is from a broad audience. He has to be popular. She has to be popular. I don't have anything to lose. I do this. Um, and to be honest, the ruder the comments I get, the more I carry on. And I don't get, that's another thing that surprised me. I don't get that many awful comments. Obviously, like anybody else in this business, I do get some, but surprisingly few, I would say. I think over the years, I had two that were serious enough for me to actually report them. One was literally a crazy man sitting in his mother's basement in Texas, you know, and the police went there immediately and had a talk with his mother, this 42-year-old man's mother, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges, and of course I didn't because she took his knife from him. And he sent me a very long apology when they put him on some some stronger medication, but 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 I mean if that is the worst, then. But I recognize that other people has had much more trouble. In Sweden, people have been attacked for expressing their opinion about wolf management, for instance.
Physically,
Yeah,
physically attacked.
physically, there was one guy who was physically attacked, and they burned his car down in front of his house.
Oh, wow.
So
Extreme.
the wackos, the weirdos are out there, but I don't feel that they are. Um, they're not enough of a threat for me to worry about. I once said a few years ago there was a little bit more threats, and I said to a journalist who asked me the same question. So I'm not really afraid of the loud ones. I'm more worried about the ones you do not get the comments from, that angry one who has another plan. But I haven't met that guy yet, and I hope not to, of course. And if I do, so be it, because I honestly think that what we are doing here is bigger than us. I think hunting is important to defend because of the obvious positive consequences hunting have for the entire society, and for me the most important thing is the nature conservation consequences. And I think that's important enough to actually, stand up for. Even if some people threaten to pull you down. So the more comments like that I get, the more I carry on. This
I
is
would
like
say
fuel on a fire.
for myself, it's more like a sport, just to get them going and to
Yeah,
get comments
yeah.
and just to have fun in a way to prove them wrong,
Mm.
even if they don't understand that themselves. But people who are reading this, they would see it. That's kind of fun for me. Of course, there
And
are. If they get the comments get really personal, especially for a woman, they like, oh, like something bad would happen to your children or something like that. If they start doing that way, then it's not really nice. But
no.
then I block those. But otherwise, they are about the killers and the murderers and the psychopaths. And it's funny because in Latvia, for example, every hunter has to go to a psychiatric checkup every
Okay.
5 years. So it means that we are actually checked. So
Mm-hmm.
my argument would always be, have you been checked? So I have a paper that proves that I am not a psychopath.
And it's funny now you mention it. One thing that I noticed, and unfortunately, it's a very clear tendency, is that these attacks, these mainly verbal attacks on social media on hunters, are like 10 times worse if you're a woman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you often see these shitstorms start on the basis of a trophy photo from Africa or whatever, and you can have like 10 of those with a big guy and a dead giraffe, and he gets some negative comments. And then you have a young girl and a dead giraffe, and she gets 10,000 negative comments. I mean, it's just it's very weird. So I think also that this subject of hunting for the anti-hunters is so loaded that it actually also serves as a sort of catalyst for all their other frustrations. So
Oh yeah.
so it becomes an excuse. So you're a hunter now. Now I can call you anything I want, and they can be racist, they can be sexist, they can be whatever they want as long as they have that hunting excuse. It becomes a free for all signal that now you can just attack this person because he or she has a rifle in the hand.
It's funny. I've been doing this like videos in Latvia and podcasts and whatnot for more than 10 years. I have male colleagues and female colleagues. And during this time, a male colleague has not ever received a comment on their appearance. Not a single time. My
Yeah.
hair is too short. I look like a guy. I look something like this. Why don't I wear makeup? It's like, and if I see if the ladies are actually wearing makeup and the nails and everything in hunting, then they get the opposite
Yeah, yeah.
comment. So it's so weird. My blouse is not the right way, and it's like, why do you care? Like, why do you care about my nails? What's wrong with
No.
you? It's really funny. My guys, they have never ever received a comment on their appearance. On
No.
their manhood, yes, but not on
Yes.
appearance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There seems to be a lot more speculation in penal size than we imagine. But it also comes to the surface when somebody holds a rifle and sits behind a dead animal. But yeah, it's no, it's a strange world, and but what we always have to remember is that all this hunting debate really went bad for the hunting community with social media. Before that, we didn't really have the same problem. We might have, the op-ed in the newspaper from an ornithologist, a bird watcher attacking us, and we could answer that. But social media just changed the game entirely for us, and I think our entire community, unfortunately, including all the organizations who are more or less all of them 100 years old, they were sort of sleeping through this change,
Oh, yeah.
and thought that the old strategy of okay, we will answer and attack in due time, and let's see if it goes away, and maybe if we just keep a low profile, um, there's no issue here. But there's no such thing as not answering and keeping a low profile on social media when you have, even though they are just a few percent of the population, our worst opponents, like us internationally, they amount to millions. So it's not difficult for them to start a shitstorm. And they are much more engaged in this than the average hunter is. I mean, every anti-hunter lives and breathes to attack hunting. That's not the passion of the hunters to attack anti-hunters. We just want to
We just
hunt.
want hunt. We just want to hunt. Yeah,
We just want
exactly.
to hunt and preferably just be left alone to do so. So it's not two opposing groups that are equally strong in that sense, because 99 out of 100 hunters do not comment on these things. And maybe they shouldn't. I mean, they're certainly not obliged to, but this is also another reason why these storms seems to grow so enormous, is that every single anti-hunter will make a comment, but very, very few hunters will. Um,
I think that now it's like 50-50 what we see. It's just
Depends on where you see it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's in many cases it's when the shitstorm kind of starts, then there are quite a lot comments coming from hunters. But yeah, depending on the country. And I also have a feeling that antis are very united. It doesn't matter what you say as long as it's against hunting.
Yeah.
Among hunters, we are still quarreling among ourselves on many things and issues, and the opinions
Yeah.
differ. How you should do it, what you should say, why you should say it. In many cases, like
Mm.
rather don't talk about the problems because it should be for the inner communication and stuff like that. And hunters are still not that united
No.
against that front. And but they can make up facts, they can use emotions, they can do whatever, and
Mm.
they kind of support each other. With the hunters,
Yeah.
it's a bit, I still feel it's a bit different.
I think you're right there. And again, I think it's mainly because our passion is not fighting anti-hunters at all. Our passion is not debating something, or we want to be in the forest and hunt and be good at that and be left alone to do that. So it's I think it's going to be very difficult to unite hunters in fighting the people who attack us, because we are individualists. I mean, so many different opinions. I mean, for millennia we have been minding our own business and probably not cared about what the hunter 10 kilometers away were doing, unless it was affecting our hunting. So we are probably better at, and we're not even very good at that, but we're probably better at discussing how to manage the red deer hunting in the general area than we are at finding ways to fight our opponents. Um,
The funny thing, just saying about that, is that we have one rather big anti-hunting or animals right organization in Latvia, and they
mm,
are sometimes posting posts with pictures, and they can't tell the difference between a roe deer and a red deer.
no,
They want to teach me how to manage moose, and
yeah,
come on, just there are four big animals in Latvia.
yeah,
Learn the difference.
yeah,
Like, and they think that a roe deer is a red deer without antlers.
yeah,
And it's amazing that you don't need some kind of a basic information about wildlife or
yeah,
animals
exactly.
and or not, but you can have an opinion.
Mm, exactly. It's like, yeah, it's but you know, if it was farm animals, the general public would mock these people. So you don't know the difference between a pig and a horse. Are you an idiot or what?
Yes,
But since the general public, we just have to realize that our passion is so specialized that, you know, regular people, it's the same. They don't know the difference. You
don't
see,
care.
we see it in our newspapers all the time. They have some small news about a red deer doing this or that in a deer garden, or whatever it is, and they need an illustration, and they just pick a deer. So we have so many illustrations of white-tailed deer
Exactly.
in Denmark, and we never had one here. Um, they all look like Bambi, don't they? I mean, this is, and I think that might be, you know, a symptom of one of our main problems here, and the reason why we keep having this discussion and why it's necessary to have this discussion, because I think the root cause, so to speak, of this all is it's not the anti-hunters. I mean, they are more or less crazy to the point where it gets religious. But the general public has been taught in all of Europe for now generations that in some ways animals have more or less the same rights as people. that has sort of sneaked into everybody's education. It's in the kindergartens, it's in the schools, it's in the children's books, it's everywhere that animals have human qualities and animals have rights, and this whole thing is just sneaking in. And
Probably thanks to Disney movies and the Bambi, where the bad hunter killed the mommy of the
Of
Bambi.
of of
But actually,
course, of
Bambi is the
course, that
right
has been
here.
pushing this narrative, and it's everywhere, and 99% of us understands that this hamburger was once a cow, but we just mentally push it away from us. We do not want to think that this thing was alive a month ago, um, and I think that the taboo around death combined with the idea that animals have rights, which is, I know it sounds cynically when a hunter like me says animals has no rights, but of course they don't. I mean, the rabbit has no right not to be killed by the fox. Uh, and the fox doesn't need any rights to kill the rabbit. This is nature. This is how it works. And I know it's brutal, and I know it's cruel, but this is how it works. And our great grandparents, they understood that because if they wanted a chicken, they had to take its head off first. Um, and we have lost this completely. But we're still at a stage where most people, can be explained. So, the hamburger at McDonald's was a cow, and they do. But in their everyday life, it's a big state of denial. So when the kids ask about what's for dinner, nobody's thinking that a pig had to die, or a chicken had to die, or whatever had to die, or that the shoes you wear on your feet is made of a dead pig or whatever.
Even if you drive your car, you're killing animals.
Even if you choose to be vegan, you
Yeah.
have to accept the fact that the fields where your food is grown is killing a lot of animals, and certainly canceled a lot of natural habitat where wild animals could live. I mean, this is a cost of living for human beings, and I think that underlying denial is basically the root problem, because if everybody said, well, we don't like it, but we accept it, there would be no discussion about hunting. Hunting is compared to other ways of getting meat on the table, a super ethical way. Um, Hunting is necessary in our cultivated landscapes to keep some wild areas wild. Because we know for a fact that if we stop doing this, that forest will become a monoculture plantation, or a crop field or whatever, and there's no room for animals there. So, and most people understand this, but in their everyday lives, killing is bad, period. Um, and
Good.
and and
Yeah,
and
go on.
I think that's why they are ready to be influenced by the extreme anti-hunting animal rights community, because most people would like to think that animals has rights and that we can avoid death and suffering, because it's just not a nice thing to talk about.
Yeah, because it is a real challenge to kind of sell the idea nowadays about hunting,
Mm.
because people in general say hunting slash killing. And you
Yeah,
can talk about all the good practices, about the conservation projects or whatnot, because there are so many good examples what hunters are actually doing in real life to protect habitats, nature, animals. You choose the subject.
yeah,
It's on every subject, like safety of society, traffic safety, whatnot. But in the end, the only argument is you protect just to kill them in the end. And how do you overcome this idea? Because you can give facts all you want the whole day, the whole year, till the end of your life, but
mm,
still this is the part of that killing that people don't get it. Why don't you protect just like that? Why do you have to go and kill it? That's their
Yeah,
argument.
yeah, that's the argument. I think the most difficult emotional attack on hunting to explain to people is um, you don't have to do it, so why do you do it? And when you then say, well, because I like the experience, I like being a hunter, then it's immediately developed into you are killing the animals for fun.
Oh, that's another
It's just
argument.
just another way to put some pungent words to it. And of course, we like to go hunting. This is recreational hunting. It's something that we chose. We are only like 3 or 4% of the population at most, and we don't have to go hunting. We could, as everybody else, just pretend that everything is fine and buy the sausage in the supermarket. Um, but what I typically do to address that issue is that I'm completely honest about I like to go hunting. I like the experience of hunting, just like a fisherman likes to go fishing, or a mountain climber likes to make an attempt on the highest mountain in the world, whatever. It's something that I like, and every other passion, you're not expected to be able to convince everybody that your motives are something they can understand. For instance, I don't understand why a person would travel to Indonesia to play golf. I think that's stupid.
To go to
But
India to meditate.
yes, yeah, yeah, it's fine with me. But I cannot relate. I don't know why anybody would need a sweater. You can just buy a sweater. It's much easier.
Yeah,
Um,
but the difference is you don't go on their social media telling them you don't have to go to India to meditate. You have to go
no,
hunting. You're not
no.
doing that.
And
That's
and
the
and
difference.
and the only reason that it becomes an interesting debate for them is that they think that it's a given that killing an animal is bad. They think that everybody should think killing an animal is always a bad thing. And that makes it reasonable to question why you do it. But then equally, um, I once had an argument with a journalist on the Danish radio, um, where I asked her what her passions were, and she said traveling and scuba diving. So she's willing to burn thousands of liters of jet fuel directly into the atmosphere to go to the other side of the world just to see how the water looks like on the other side of the planet. And it's just a fact that burning jet fuel directly into the atmosphere is one of the planet's biggest problems right now. Everybody sort of agrees that we are looking into global warming, disaster, and what have you. And every single traveler going on a plane or in a car or on a boat or whatever knows that burning this fuel into the atmosphere probably makes that issue bigger. And yet they choose to do so because they just want to go and see the giraffe in the park, or see what the reef looks like on the Australian coast, or play golf in Indonesia, or whatever they want. So basically, they are burning jet fuel for fun.
I had a talk with a Spanish scientist last year. I have to check, but he said he had read a research saying that if you don't eat meat the whole life,
Mm,
then the impact would be one flight from Amsterdam to Madrid with uh,
okay.
an airplane. We have
That
to check it, but that was what he was saying, and he's a good he's
Yeah, yeah. I,
a
I,
serious
I I don't
scientist.
know. I don't know, but logically, if you eat wild meat, I mean, you're just a part of the local carbon circulation. I mean, the animals we hunt and eat will eventually die. That's another fact of life that people are having a hard time to realize. If it's born, it will die. So So we are not really impacting this whole climate thing by hunting locally. Of course we are when we travel to Kamchatka like everybody else traveling on a plane, and I for one am guilty of that. But I think it's a basic need for people to go and experience things, whether it's hunting or flying to a faraway destination or investing in a set of golf clubs that could have been used for, you know, medical equipment or whatever. I mean, we make choices to have a good time, to have some good experiences, and I don't think it's necessary to convince everybody else that my experiences are more reasonable than theirs. I mean, I think we should just accept each other's passions and go on. I mean, if now I'm going to say something that's really going to piss people off, but if nobody's hurt, and I know they believe I'm hurting somebody, but I'm not. I mean, if no people are hurt, then have the passion you want. Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's funny what I have noticed that on social media, people or the commentators get more aggressive. They have this idea of anonymity, but if you
Mm,
talk face to face in different situations, in any event, in any party, it usually ends up me telling everybody else about hunting, and everybody is interested. And they ask questions about animals, about a big issue in Latvia is the bear population,
mm,
about the safety and stuff like that. So when you have this face-to-face conversation, then it's a bit different. So that's why I have a bit of a conspiracy theory in my mind about the things that they are trolling. They are troll farms actually that pick up certain subjects about hunting
mm,
and then making, as you said, a bit big shitstorm of it, because there are some subjects like wolves, hunting and conservation and stuff like that, where
hmm.
suddenly there's so many comments coming from everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's like, why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they
Big business. I think to a certain extent it is a big business. Just for example, I put out on Facebook page just a poster. Without hunters, there would be less wildlife and less wild land. It's like viewed more than 100,000 times. There's 1.1 thousand likes, 270 shares, and 345 comments of
hmm.
all sorts. And then you put out something about lynx being killed on the road because overpopulation, and there's like 43 likes, and that's it. So I have
Hmm.
this real feeling that on certain subjects there is a certain trolling thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And again, I may sound a little cynical, but it's a little bit disappointing considering how serious this fight is. What how serious the consequences can be for hunting if we lose this public debate. Um, it's a little bit sad to see that we are always behind. We are all we are always, you know,
Putting out fires, not going on the front line, basically.
yeah, because I'm sure that some of our opponents long time ago have utilized stuff like AI and buying troll farms in China or whatever, as you say, to be able to really get a shitstorm going. So now you have this suddenly you have this picture of a girl and a dead giraffe, and they want some momentum on it, and you have a million comments from a million different profiles. Uh, Obviously, there's ways to organize this, and I think they do. I cannot prove it, but as you say, it seems weird that some subjects takes off that fast.
Yeah, and
Um,
this is
and
also,
it,
I think, about the trophy hunting subject. What's
yes,
the trophy hunting for a normal hunter? Trophy hunting doesn't ring a bell as a like a word that words are put together, because what we do is we call it selective hunting.
yeah,
We hunt animals according to their sex, age, uh, trophy quality. And it
yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's Latvia, it's Denmark, it's Africa, Asia, or America.
It's just hunting, isn't it? I mean,
And
yeah.
trophy hunting is just demonized words that are being used as an
Mhm.
anti-hunting campaign. Am I wrong, or?
No, I think you're right. I think trophy hunting is a very unfortunate term that we probably coined ourselves, the hunting community, 100 years or more ago, where you had a few hunters whose main motivation to hunt was to create the equivalent of a stamp collection. They wanted one of each on the wall, and you know. I'm not like that, but I don't see anything wrong in that either. I mean, if I don't care if a hunter's motives is mainly putting roe deer meat on the table, or if he or she just loves the experience, as long as it's 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 a part of good management, that's reason enough for me. And whatever the hunter gets out of it, which could also be different from day to day, I guess, and from person to person, obviously, is nobody else's business. But it's become such a poisonous word, trophy hunting, because it implies that people are killing this animal, or rather that this animal is killed only to obtain a trophy, and that's simply not true in any case. I mean, even if you have an American or a Russian or a European hunter traveling all the way to Africa specifically to kill a big kudu bull because he or she just wants a new world record on the wall. I mean, this is the extreme example of a bad guy in the public debate. But even in that case, that landowner who has that kudu on his area will, with 100% certainty, make absolutely sure that every single bit of that kudu is utilized and eaten. He will have a great income from that. And that income will go towards saving the habitat for the rest of the kudu population and for the other 34,000 species he has in his area.
Yeah, but
So,
you killed the Cecil the lion. You
yeah,
killed
yeah,
the lion with the name.
exactly. But yeah, but this is so stupid. Why focus on the motives of that one guy who pays the bill? Because he's not the one who decides that there's kudu hunting in Africa. So you have the landowner who makes all the work and who protects the habitat and keeps the poachers away, and his motivation is entirely different. He needs the income. So in that perspective, the so-called evil trophy hunter is a very necessary part of the chain. Um, but even so, that kind of trophy hunter is rare. Obviously, a lot of people, myself included, will keep the horns or the antlers of an animal to commemorate a good hunt. But that's not the main reason that I go hunting and everybody else I know go hunting. We go for the experience. So, when they talk about banning trophies and stuff like that, it's just completely silly. I mean, it's the tradition is to keep an inedible part of the animal. There's no use for a trophy for anything else, and there's no value in a trophy for anybody else.
It's your memory.
It's just a memory. It's like picking a pebble from the beach. I mean, it's yeah, just keep a memento. But it's become such a loaded word, which in itself is a big problem for us. because it's whenever they want to really attack us, it's always trophy hunting. I see in UK media they were very upset that people were hunting puffins, those sea birds with the colorful beaks in Iceland and the Faroe Islands. And in order to get that shitstorm going in the UK media, everybody called it trophy hunting. But it was birds. It's not trophy hunting. I mean,
Like you
so
just
you
put
can
the beaks on the wall or what? Like
maybe
a
shoot
big
1,000 and make a big chandelier or whatever. No, but it's just it's like calling every opponent you have a Nazi or something like that. Um, Another one I see a lot is they like to use the word pedophile a lot, which has absolutely zero to do with hunting or anything. But you get these really poisonous words and you just overuse them in the debate because you immediately uh, get some applause from that. But I think trophy hunting is something we should entirely stop using ourselves. We're not using it much, but we should just stop using it altogether and let the antis have that word for themselves so that everybody can see that it's basically theirs, their
you,
invention. Because there's really no such thing when you go into the whole process of hunting. You might have one person in the process who is motivated by a hunting trophy, but the rest are motivated by nature conservation and income or many other things that are much more noble in the general public's view.
I think
Um,
that they have also reached hunters in a way because I've heard also this phrase from hunters that they say, "Yeah, I'm a hunter, but I'm against trophy hunting." And when you
yeah.
start to explain, it's like when you go out and you shoot a really bad red deer,
Hmm.
evaluated by its antlers, it's
Hmm.
also trophy hunting. And then they're like, "Yeah, but it's different. Like, how is it different?" Like
Yes, it's
how,
not
in
different at
what
all.
way is it different? I remember you had a picture on Facebook with a mouse when
Yeah.
you made the picture as if it was a trophy, and you got such a huge shitstorm because they even don't care what kind of animal, they even don't recognize the animals. It's like it's
No.
a mouse, and you
Yeah.
posted the gun with a mouse,
Yeah.
and that you got a huge shitstorm about it.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. And as you say, I mean, what's I usually boil it down to what's wrong. I spent 14 days to hunt a specific roebuck on my hunting area, and sometimes I succeed, and I eat all the meat, and I invite friends and families for lots of dinners during the winter, and I have a hell of an experience, and I spend the entire year preparing for that and making sure that the habitat is good enough for roe deer to live in. And I think it's such a good experience that I keep the antlers. It might be small antlers, whatever. It's a memory of the experience. How is that wrong? How is that bothering anybody? I mean, a trophy is a part of a dead animal. It's too late to save that animal anyway. And yeah, I just don't get it. But I guess it's very easy to use it to demonize us. It's very easy to make us look like perverts, you
Yeah,
know?
and comes back to your motivation. And I
Mm.
always funny for me to see that they usually know what you think. They always know what hunters think, that you are
Oh,
doing it
yeah.
for fun. You like killing. It's like I always answer to them, "Oh, you are having really weird fantasies. Like
Yes.
you are having fantasies about other people doing things probably you would love to do, but you're afraid of, or what's the thought
Yeah.
find it. It's so weird that hunters say, "No, we don't kill for fun." And the next comment is like, "No, you kill for fun." "No, I don't." "Yes, you do." It's like, how do you know what I think? What is my motivation? And what right the other person has to judge me on my motivation? Well, I don't go out shoot roe deer and keep crying because I do it because I like the whole process, and the shooting part is just like it's like 1 millisecond the moment you pull the trigger. And
Yeah,
you don't pull the trigger like 90% of the time you see animals. And I think this is the message that we should get out more.
exactly.
Your yeah, go on.
And frankly, I would personally be a little scared if I one day woke up to realize that I thought I knew exactly what criminals think. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that would scare me a little bit. Uh, you know, so as you say, why are they so obsessed with the thought that they know exactly what we think? It's it's crazy. Hmm.
With your experience, what would you be your suggestions to hunters or to hunting organizations, national wise or worldwide? What should be done more to get the message out? What's lacking in your world from organizations, from other organizations?
Um, I think I have to be a little bit careful here, but I think one of the problems that our organizations have is that they're basically old constructions, obviously built on democratic principles, where you have a lot of members who are supposed to have influence on everything the organization do. And I think one of the issues that came up with the rise of social media is that these organizations are not really geared to do what I and other people do, and that is to react very, very swiftly when a situation arises, because the organizations always need to make sure that they have their membership base behind them. So they cannot point out. This is very difficult for them to point out a guy or girl and say, now you are our spokesperson on this and that, and you just go ahead. Um, and if we don't like what you're saying, you're fired. Um, that is too much of a mouthful for most of the organizations, and I'm not sure that it will ever change because of the structure of these organizations. One example is in the beginning, when hunting was attacked in Denmark, back when I was only writing for the Danish mainstream media on this, is that back then the National Hunting Association of Denmark very, very rarely answered or met these attacks. They've become much better at that, but still, if it's on social media, I think they sometimes lack the manpower. I think they sometimes lack the ability to just let one guy or girl do the fighting, because it's probably too dangerous for them just to put such a responsibility on one person. So I think it's two very different ways of communicating, and I think that both are very necessary, because of course the hunting associations are very important on the big things, the principal matters that are in a civilized debate on public media and stuff like that, um, where they can have an official opinion and think about exactly what to write and so on. But what goes on social media and to some extent in electronic media, like TV debates, radio debates, and that, I mean, you just cannot turn around to ask permission to say this or that. You're in that situation and you just need to answer. And I think that is a big challenge, because on one side I think it's necessary, and we are a lot of privateers, fortunately, who does that. And if we mess up the consequence will obviously be that people will not like what we do anymore, and I'm sure they will tell us. Um, but if it was our organization who did that, it would be a lot more complicated to mess up. So I think the best thing going forward would be that the organizations more actively supported the idea that there are different ways to communicate, that private individuals like me, even though we can seem a little dangerous to the organizations because they are not in control, so to speak, I think we would take a big step forward if everybody recognized that we are also a very important part of this debate going forward, because we are always there. I mean, I will take up a debate Sunday evening if it arises Sunday evening, and I will answer immediately. And I know there's probably a board of directors in some organization who would love to sit and discuss this or that subject back and forth for a couple of days before answering, but that's just not how media works. So if we want to have a voice in the debate, I think both approaches are very important. The old school organizational approach with very deliberate and carefully thought through answers, and pirates like me, um, because we want our voice in there.
It's the situation is not as bad, because I was checking the social media like Facebook following for face members and associate members. And
Mhm.
together, it makes up almost 900,000 following
That's
across
nice.
across the whole Europe. I also at the beginning I thought that organizations are not active on social media, but what is lacking is actually the hunters supporting each other and sharing the messages of different organizations, and just putting on a like so it gets a bigger voice, a bigger audience, a bigger uh,
Mhm.
visibility.
Yeah,
Where people can find you, just to end, because I think we're talking for an hour. I think we could talk for another day
we
or two.
probably could.
Yeah, sharing examples and whatnot. What is Hunter's Voice, and where can they find you? And if someone is listening to you now and get inspired, how to start doing what you're doing or get
Well,
involved.
the easiest part, my main platform, so to speak, in relations to the hunting community, where they can see what I do, is on Facebook mainly. So they just look up Hunter's Voice on Facebook, or my name, and they will find me there. Um, I think the most important part of my work is what I do in mainstream media, but I always put up links on Facebook to inform the community that follows me of what's going on. And people are always welcomed, to get in touch with me. Just send me a message, or if they have any idea, or any facts, or anything like that they would like me to consider throwing into the debate. I always welcome that. I always welcome, a stronger network. I've started using LinkedIn over the last 6 months more actively. And I think that's of growing importance as well. It's a entirely different audience, but I think it's equally important. So I'm going to be very visible there. I'm too old and too grumpy for Instagram, uh, and TikTok is just a word for me. I have no idea what's going on there. So main platform still Facebook, and they can find me on LinkedIn as well.
If hunters get inspired, how do they start?
Just
What?
start. I mean, I think my main advice to hunters who want to advocate hunting is to, be honest, stick to the truth. always remember that the part of a discussion who gets angry first is the part who loses that discussion. So keep your temper. No matter, I always think that the matter I can get the opponent without losing my temper, the better it is. Because those 95%, as we spoke of before, were non-hunters and basically know very little about hunting and basically cares very little about hunting. Always remember that they are watching. We may not hear from them in the debate, but they are watching. So if one side of the debate, preferably our opponents, just loses their temper and starts talking about our penis size or nail polish or whatever, then those 95% are reasonable enough to see that, okay, the arguments are not on that side of the discussion. So stay calm, stick to the facts, and be honest. It's a very, very simple recipe, actually.
That's a good advice, I think. So our followers, our listeners and viewers, so if you like what we do, follow, subscribe, share it to the world, and leave a comment. And Face has become quite active lately on Facebook, so you can check what we're doing. You could check what Jens is doing. And as always, share, like, follow, and leave a comment. Thank you very much for this discussion, and see you.
Thank you for having me, and again, support Face. They support you.
Exactly. Thank you. And see you in the forest or somewhere in the wilderness.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye bye.